Om Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru. So in the Bhagavad Gita, we are studying the second chapter. And Sri Krishna has just given the essential teaching about the Atman. The Atman means the self, us. What is our real nature? Vedanta in that sense is very simple. It says that we do not truly know what we are. What is there here? We think it's a body-mind, but it's something far more than that, far deeper than that. I like that saying, that what is behind you and what is yet in front of you is as nothing compared to what is within you. What is behind you? All your past. What is yet ahead of you? Whatever is going to happen in life. We think these are the important things. My past and my future. That's what's important. None of that is anything compared. It's insignificant compared to what is within you. What is within us is nothing compared to what is within us. I think I must have told this joke earlier. It happened year before last in Santa Barbara. I had quoted this thing more than once, and so somebody left a card in the ashram saying that, and the card itself says, at the top of the card, it was not handwritten, it was printed, what is behind you and what is ahead of you is as nothing compared to what is within you. And inside the card it says, and what is within the freezer. So we rushed and saw in the freezer somebody had left ice cream in the freezer. But the Atman, the doctrine of the Atman is that if we would truly know what we are, then all our problems would be solved. We are trying to solve the problems in a worldly way, but the real solution is a spiritual solution. And that spiritual solution is a knowledge of what I am. What am I? What did we learn? Sri Krishna said from verses 12 onwards. First of all, most important, again and again Sri Krishna has been saying this. You are immortal. You are not born with the birth of the body. You do not die with the death of the body. Nitya. Avinashi, indestructible. He said, weapons cannot cleave it, the water cannot drown it, and fire cannot burn it. It means the Atman, you, the self. Indestructible, immortal. Then we saw that other verse, 16th verse, which says, Nasato vidyate bhava, a very profound verse, which implies not only are you eternal, immortal, but this reality which you are is the only reality of the universe. The Atman is real, the Anatman is an appearance. The self is the reality of which the not self, other than you, whatever you experience is an appearance of yourself. You are the reality of this universe. Don't feel all that happy. By you, I don't mean you, the person. The spiritual reality, which is our common spiritual heritage. That's what I mean. Sometimes I feel people like Vedanta classes because it keeps saying nice and cool things about you. But remember, the you they talk about here is the spiritual you, the spiritual self. Then one more thing we learned here was Sarvagata, all-pervading. It's not that we are separate little bits of consciousness in each body and mind. That's what it feels like. Because we are localized in bodies and minds, we think, I am separate, you are separate, he is separate, and she is separate. No. It says Sarvagata, it is one all-pervading reality. In that oneness, the plural universe appears. Like a dream universe. It's one mind. The dreamer's mind is one person dreaming. But in the dream, you will find an entire world. Then what else did we learn? We learned aprameya. It is not an object of any pramana, of the sources of knowledge. You can't see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it. It cannot be inferred by the mind and so on. It's not an object to the sources of knowledge, aprameya. It is not a doer nor an experiencer of the results of action. In Sanskrit, akarta bhokta. And we did all this. And then now we are on the 26th verse. Here, Sri Krishna sums up the teaching. By the way of summation, he says he acknowledges how difficult it is. If you really think about it, it's stunning. We think we are the body. Shows us you're not the body. We think we are this person in the body. You are not this person. You are not denying that it's there, but you are not it. And it says you are an infinite, immortal, spiritual being, consciousness itself, being itself, the absolute. So it's some tremendous fact. Somebody said, actually, it's easier to believe in God than to believe this. It's about you. But still, it's so difficult to believe this about myself. I can still believe that there must be some kind of God, but this is so tremendous. And yet, it is you, and it can be realized. Not a matter of just belief. Definitely not. Vedanta aims to educate us, to show us how this is true. Last week, I was at the University of Michigan. There was a symposium on Advaita Vedanta and education, ancient wisdom and modern education. I think they've put up the videos online. You can see. So I gave a talk about this very same thing, about knowing oneself. But you see, Shankara's Advaita Vedanta is a pedagogy, is a methodology of teaching. It's a way to show us a truth about ourselves. Or not one way, many ways are there. But basically to show us so that we have this insight, that aha moment. Oh, this is what I am. Then all your problems are solved. Not externally. Everything that is there externally will continue. But it's no longer of any consequence to you. You are set free. So that's the goal of Vedanta. Now it's very difficult. Difficult to believe, first of all. And then to make the breakthrough. Difficult even to take seriously. So Sri Krishna, he says it's quite possible that you don't believe any of it. He thinks that Arjuna probably is not getting it. Good teachers, you might think they're like mind readers. You don't have to be. If you have taught in school, especially grade school or kindergarten, one look into the faces of the kids and you know whether they're listening, whether they get it, or they're thinking of something else. It's very easy. If you have been teaching for a long time, you don't have to be a telepath. I remember one of the finest teachers I ever met. He's a great scholar of Vedanta, and he's a professor of physics too. So, very formidable. His name is K. Ramasubramaniam. He's in IIT Mumbai. But one thing I liked about his teaching was I attended some of his classes as a young monk. He was trained under the Sringeri Shankaracharya directly. So, he was teaching us an abstruse text of Vedanta. And I still remember what was startling about his teaching was he knew what you were thinking. And one disconcerting habit he had was he would walk around speaking. His classes were very interesting, long classes, but you had to be hyper alert because the moment you were not alert, he would notice he's this tall, thin man with blazing eyes. He would notice and focus that pair of blazing eyes on you, and he would rush towards you literally and say, "Yes, tell me what I said." Or ask a question related to what he was saying. Ask a question related to what he was saying. He just point to you, yes. So I've had my share of tough teachers. There's one teacher, a very great scholar. I'd heard about it was inconvenient for me to go from the monastery to attend his classes, but I'd heard about it. So I went to attend one class of his. And it's a very small group of students. But all the students they have all degrees in Sanskrit or Indian philosophy. They are retired teachers, people like that. So they're all sitting there, and I noticed why he has this tough reputation, this great scholar. I'm not talking about Ram Subramaniam now. I'm talking about somebody else. So he starts off the class with a 10-minute scolding. he starts off by saying, I don't know why I bothered to come here. I look at your faces and I know you don't understand anything. It's a shame. I tell you, it's a shame. So 10 minutes we all sat like this. But I realized it was like par for course. He would do that every time. So they sort of take it in stride. And he would treat them like little... I mean, you can't treat little children like that nowadays. They are in the 60s or 70s, the students. And he would ask a question, you would have to stand up to answer it. And he won't let you sit down until you have answered it. He'll help you. This lady, she stood up to answer a question, and he kept on saying, I won't let you sit down till you give me the answer. And she was giggling, but at least he didn't make the students stand up on the bench holding their ears or something like that. Yeah. So tough teachers. Krishna is like that. He immediately sees Arjuna is not getting it. It's understandable. So he says, 26th verse. Atha chainam nitya jatam nityam va manyase mritam tathapi tvam mahabaho naivam shochitum arhasi. What does it mean? If, however means in spite of all this Vedantic teaching, if, however, you think that it, the self, you are born with the birth of the body and you die with the death of the body, even then, O mighty armed one, you ought not to grieve for it. What is he doing? He's taking a different stance now. He's coming down a couple of steps, as it were. Instead of talking about an immortal consciousness, the one reality of the universe beyond all senses or sources of knowledge, a transcendent, non-actor, non-experiencing awareness, instead of talking of that, he says, just as you know yourself right now, if you think that you are born, people are born with the birth of their body and people die with the death of the body, the self comes up with the birth of the body and the self dies with the death of the body, even then, you should not be shaken by this, by death. Why not? We'll come to that. But before that, it's interesting to think, what point of view is this? What point of view is this? There are different candidates. I'll give you two which I've heard, and I'll tell you what I think. One is the materialist. That's the most common point of view, say today, for example. And all throughout history in every civilization, including the ancient Vedic civilization, there have been materialists who say, all this is nonsense. Body is all that exists. Matter is all that exists. And we are living matter. We are born, and in this body we exist, and when the body goes, we are finished. That's it. There's nothing before this, nothing after this. As far as you are concerned, the self is concerned, Atman. The Atman is nothing but the body. So this view was called the view of the Charvaka. Charvaka are the ancient Indian materialists. Literally the Sanskrit word Charvaka comes from Charuvaka, sweet talk. Sweet talk means it's the most acceptable, easy kind of philosophy. So what was their recommendation? Since you are born with the birth of the body and you die with the death of the body, make use of the time you have got. Eat, drink, and be merry. So there's an Indian version to that. Many people, we have heard of it. Yavad jivet, sukham jivet, rinam kritva, ghritam pivet. Bhasmi bhutasya dehasya punaragamanam kuta. So there are verses. There are verses of these ancient materialists. What do they recommend? As long as you live, as long as the body lives, live happily. How do you live happily? What is the recommendation? Ghritam pivet. This is difficult to translate. Literally means drink a lot of ghee. Now, today's closest would be you drink lots of Pepsi or Coke or something like that. Like have fun. Just indulge yourself. But it is expensive. Where do I get the money? He says, Rinam Kritva, borrow money, credit economy. Credit cards. Max out your credit cards. But I have to pay back then. He says, no. You don't have to pay back. Rinam bhasmi bhutasya dehasya punaragamanam kuta. When the body is burned, when you die, the body is burned. You're not going to come back anymore. Nobody's going to catch you. It is The universe is the ultimate free lunch. Have fun. What about my kids or they'll have to pay? Who cares? That's their problem. We may think that's ridiculous, but that's actually mostly what we are doing. The economists, they talk about the price to be paid by future generations. If you consume a lot now, the price is in terms of debt, in terms of global warming, in terms of resource depletion, in terms of pollution. All that will actually have to be paid. But who will pay it? Children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren? If any are left after a few generations. Some people say it's only 30 years now. That might be too alarmist. But so that is the materialist point of view. Materialist point of view. And sweet. That's a very nice kind of philosophy. Have fun while it lasts. The problem is, according to all other schools of philosophy, not just Vedanta, every other school of thought in ancient India, except the materialist, not only the world will last, but you will also last. And therefore, what you do now, you'll have to pay the price for that. It's not that you get off scot-free. You will have to pay the price for that. So it doesn't really work ultimately, that kind of philosophy. And it's short-sighted, because the pleasures which we try to enjoy right now, not caring about what we have to pay, those pleasures are momentary and they have passed away. We still remember, and the price is still there. Yes.
So when you talk about Vedanta,
yes.
Are you saying in a generic term, or are you referring to any specific school of thought? Like,
Right.
Can you elaborate on what do you mean?
The question is being asked, what do you mean by Vedanta? When you talk about Vedanta, is it a generic term or a specific school of thought? Both. There is specifically, when I'm explaining the Bhagavad Gita, or in fact any other scripture, the Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Sutras, whatever it is, or the texts which we are studying, the Mandukya Karika, Aparokshanubhuti, I'm referring to a particular school of Vedanta, which is Advaita Vedanta, non-dual Vedanta of Shankaracharya. So it's an ancient school. It's actually, the traditionalists will be annoyed if I say it's a non-dual Vedanta of Shankaracharya. Shankaracharya in the tradition is called Bhashyakara, the great commentator. But the texts of the school and the school itself predates Shankaracharya by centuries, if not millennia. So that's the school I'm referring to, and there's a reason why I'm referring to that school, because that's the philosophical foundation of the order I belong to, the Ramakrishna order. But also, having said that, there are many other schools of Vedanta. There is Vishishtadvaita of Ramanuja, there is the Dvaita, the dualistic school of Madhva, there is the Dvaita-Advaita of Nimbarkacharya, there is the Shuddhadvaita of Vallabhacharya, there is the Achintya Bheda Bhed, whose descendants are the Hare Krishnas. So there's a whole series of Vedantic schools. Now, one thing which Swami Vivekananda and the early Swamis did when they came here, they presented the combined spiritual heritage of India as Vedanta. So, for example, this is the Vedanta Society of New York. But the first publication which came out from here, very famous, Swami Vivekananda's Raja Yoga. But it's actually a commentary on the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, which is the yoga school of philosophy, which is distinct from the Vedanta school. It's not even a school of Vedanta. So the entire, the philosophy of meditation, the bhakti schools, and the jnana schools, all of them were taught by the early Swamis, and the general name was Vedanta. There's nothing wrong in that, because if you go back to India also, and if you look at Hinduism, modern Hinduism, you will find most of the practicing Hindus, their philosophical origins lie in some school of the Vedanta or the other. Nyaya, Vaisheshika, the school of ancient the logicians, or the Sankhya school, or the Yoga school of Patanjali, these are more theoretical, academic now than actually practiced. People practice them, but if you ask them, there are scholars of Nyaya, for example, logic. But if you actually ask the scholar of Nyaya in India today, what are you practicing? Are you practicing the Nyaya Sutras of Gautama in your day-to-day? No. He'll probably turn out to be a devotee of Krishna or something like that. So the Sri Vaishnavas, the Madhvas in Karnataka, even say, for example, the Swami Narayan sect of Gujarat, now all over the world, the Pushti Marga in Gujarat again, the different schools, the ISKCON, the Hare Krishna. So all of these are the modern phase of Hinduism. If you probe, you will come across some school of Vedanta as the basis. So in a general term, Vedanta means the spiritual heritage of India today, the philosophical foundations of modern Hinduism. But if you say specifically, I would like to pin you down to one school, then clearly it is the Advaita Vedanta of Shankara. But not in an exclusive sense. You can do that in an exclusivist sense, like Totapuri, the guru of Sri Ramakrishna. Only Advaita Vedanta, nothing else. So we don't do that. Yes. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
But it gave rise to two more questions. I'm coming to you. You first, and then she can ask. Yes.
What is the link between Sri Vidya and Vedanta? If there is any?
There is, but I'm not qualified. It's a very deep subject. It's related to Tantra. I didn't mention Tantra. Tantra is an entirely autonomous, I would say, school in Hinduism with a lot of followers. And there are many schools of Tantra. So Sri Vidya is a particular ritual with a philosophy associated with it. I really don't know enough about it to say anything more. You have to be initiated into it formally by a guru to practice it. Yes. The lady here.
It's a good explanation. I think one of my confusion I always have is related to Vishishta Advaita and Advaita with respect to bhakti.
Yes.
There's a sense that maybe I'm misinterpreting it, that Vishishta Advaita is more devotional and more theistic than Advaita. I just want to hear your thoughts.
All right. I'll repeat the question. It's a good question. That a bit about Vishishta Advaita and Advaita. Vishishta Advaita is the qualified monism associated with Ramanujacharya and the Sri Vaishnavas. And Advaita Vedanta, non-dual Vedanta. She asks is that the impression she has is that Vishishta Advaita is more devotional, more theistic than Advaita Vedanta. You're right. There's a lot to be said about this. It's a vast history. Nearly 1,000 years of dialectics and many, many texts written on both sides. Ramanuja, who came about 200 years after Shankara, 250 years after Shankara, he gave a new set of commentaries on the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita and the Brahma Sutras. He did not write separate commentaries on the Upanishads, but he wrote a separate commentary on the Brahma Sutras called Sri Bhashya and a commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, giving a different interpretation from Advaita Vedanta. The core difference is this. I will not go into it because it's a huge, fascinating subject. I have a book written by Vasudev Shastri Abhyankar called Advaita Moda, The Delight of Non-Dualism. That's the name of the book. This was a great Pandit in the last century, 2 centuries ago, last century in fact. And he was a non-dualist, but he was reading qualified monism so seriously, studying it. His other scholarly friend, Pandits, they teased him. Are you becoming a qualified non-dualist, a qualified monist, Vishishta Advaita? Are you moving away from non-dualism? So this scholar, Abhyankar, he said, no. I'm just studying it, and to prove that he was still a loyal non-dualist, he wrote this book in which he points out 30 differences. No, 22 differences, I think. 22 differences between non-dualism and Vishishta and qualified monism, the two systems. So there are many differences. Ramanuja who wrote the commentaries on Gita and Brahma Sutra, in his Brahma Sutra commentary, he starts by, see, you have touched upon a favorite subject of mine, so I'm finding it difficult to stop, but I'll just mention this two things and then stop. One is, he starts his commentary on the Brahma Sutras with a tremendous attack on Shankara's non-dualism. He calls Shankara's non-dualism the great opponent. The English is mild. The Sanskrit is more weighty. Mahapurva Paksha, the great opposing force or opponent. And he levels page after page. The first part of the commentary on the first sutra is a powerful attack. And a good attack. It is said that sometimes, when people do dialectics, criticize each other's positions, they cut down a straw man. They set up a straw man and shoot it down. Something, represent your position in a silly way, and then makes it easy to dismiss. But Ramanuja doesn't do that. What Ramanuja does is he gives a faithful rendering, an acceptable rendering of non-dualism of Shankaracharya, and then proceeds to cut it down mercilessly. In fact, it is said among scholars, I've heard, Ramanuja, who attacks Shankara, non-dualism, the method of attacking in ancient India, the debate was called Vada. Vada means debate. One of the rules of Vada was, if I'm going to attack you, to criticize your position, first I must state your position to your satisfaction. What a beautiful rule. You see, it would prevent so many quarrels. Normally, when we are arguing against somebody, we are not really listening to the other person. We are thinking of our answer to that. I'm getting an answer ready. I'll give you such an answer. What you are saying, I'm not listening. But here it forces you. What did that person say? And you have to repeat back what that person said to that person's satisfaction. Sir, this is what you said. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes. Now I am permitted to give a reply. What a beautiful thing. It can prevent quarrels from philosophers to the household to boss and in the corporate sector, wherever. Anyway, it is said Ramanuja presented Advaita Vedanta so fairly in his introduction, before starting his criticism of Advaita Vedanta, that a newcomer to Advaita Vedanta can actually learn Advaita Vedanta from that. It's such a fair presentation. A great scholar of non-dualism, Shankara Vedanta, who is no friend of qualified monists, he said to me, Ramanuja is a gentleman. But 1,000 years of dialectics, one of the great Ramanujite dialecticians was Vedanta Desika, I think. He wrote Shatadushani, 100 objections against Advaita Vedanta. And 100 years after that, or 200 years after that, another scholar wrote Shatabhushani, 100 ornaments of Advaita. That means refuting the 100 objections. And so on. This is the one thing I wanted to say. This is a very vast background. But coming to your point, Vishishta Advaita is definitely more theistic. Instead of saying, I am Brahman, it says, I am a part of Brahman. Brahman is the whole of which all of us, we are parts. So the world is a part of Brahman. You and I, we are parts of Brahman. And what do you have to do? Knowledge is helpful to realize that we are a part of Brahman. I am a part of Brahman, that is knowledge. Now, I the part, what will be my relation to the whole? Knowledge or devotion? Devotion. You are a tiny part of the whole. So your relation to the whole will be a devotion. God is the whole. Brahman is the whole. And Brahman in Ramanuja's view is Saguna Brahman. Brahman with infinite auspicious qualities. If you get Ramanuja started on the qualities of God, then you have to have patience because he'll take a full page. Once he starts, what are the all-knowing, all-merciful, all-loving, just, beautiful, gracious, and he'll go on and on and on. In fact, the Bhagavad Gita, Ramanuja's commentary on Bhagavad Gita, he starts off, the first page is one line, one single sentence of the qualities of God. He loses himself in ecstasy when he talks about God. But it is a theistic God. Not pure consciousness, pure being, beyond the universe. I am Brahman is the only reality, the universe is an appearance, and I am Brahman. Ramanuja would plug his ears. It's blasphemy for him to hear such things. So it's a very, very, very devotional philosophy. Yeah. Sorry for that little lecture. In fact, if you want to have a deeper understanding of Advaita Vedanta, the original classical Advaita Vedanta, it's good to study Vishishta Advaita also, because they are often confused together. The difference will make you understand both very clearly. The approaches are very, because they sound similar, but they are not similar. Yes.
In terms of devotion, even in Advaita Vedanta, we do have a philosophy of Bhakti Yoga, right?
Of course there is, but it's a different approach altogether. In Advaita Vedanta, the question was, do we have Bhakti Yoga in Advaita Vedanta? Yes. But what does Bhakti Yoga serve in Advaita Vedanta? Twofold. One is, at the preparatory stage, it is a very good preparation for knowledge. Bhakti is a support for knowledge. What will set you free? What is the ultimate? Bhakti or Jnana? The Shankara will say, obviously Jnana, there's no question. Knowledge will set you free. I am Brahman. And after becoming free, after becoming an enlightened person, when you again find yourself as an appearance, as an individual, an appearance, then God is also an appearance to you. That individual in appearance can have devotion to God in appearance. Their bhakti is an expression of knowledge. I know you and I, thou and I we are one. But still, I am thy devotee and you are my Lord. It's a very beautiful attitude. Hanuman, he says, Srinathe Janakinathe Abheda Paramatmani Tathapi Mama Sarvasva Sri Rama Kamalalochana. He says, I know Vishnu, Saguna Brahman, Srinatha, and Janakinatha, Ramachandra, the husband of Sita. They are one reality. Abheda Paramatmani. And if you look at it Advaita in a non-dualistic way, then we are all one reality. We know that. I know that. But even so, Tathapi, even so, for me, everything is the lotus-eyed Rama. That's an expression of devotion, of love. That can exist after full knowledge also. So Shankaracharya has no problem. He's not becoming a dualist by writing all these beautiful hymns to Krishna, to Ganga, to Shiva. Beautiful hymns. Some of the most beautiful hymns are written by Shankaracharya, who is a non-dualist. And he's not playing two roles there. That devotion is an expression of his knowledge. There is a very beautiful saying, I don't know who it is attributed to, the roles of bhakti and jnana, knowledge and devotion. Bodhat prag dvaitam mohaya. Before enlightenment, duality leads to samsara, delusion. We get trapped, which we call samsara, this problem we have. It is because of plurality, duality. Prapte manishaya bhaktyartham kalpitam dvaitam advaitadapi sundaram. After you become enlightened, one Brahman, I alone am that. After that, again when this world appears to you, as it will, and you find yourself in this body, and you're living the same life as before, then what do? How do you live life? In a false world. How do you live life? After having known the reality, bhaktyartham kalpitam dvaitam. Duality, kalpitam, imagined or projected for the sake of love, is more beautiful than non-duality. Advaita adapi sundaram. But who can say that? Only the person who has realized non-duality. So it's a difference. I and the Lord are different. It's your projection. You know that you are not different. You are one. You have already realized it. Now it's a matter of delight. What do you do when you watch a movie? You know it's not real. You know there's nothing to it. But then you project a certain reality to it and then you react. You laugh and you cry and you cheer and you clap. All the while knowing the background is that it's a movie. Then delight comes. Otherwise terror. You see, King Kong climbing Empire State Building, iconic picture, and you say, oh, it's so enjoyable. And you watch in the movie theater, King Kong, this huge creature is climbing Empire State Building, and if a tiny monkey comes in the theater, you will scream and run away. Why? Because King Kong is an appearance, not there, and therefore you enjoy. But that monkey is there, it can bite. So delight, it becomes delight after non-dual realization. Madhusudan Saraswati, who was a great non-dualist, in fact the acme of philosophical writing on non-dualism, Advaita Siddhi, one of the toughest books on non-dualism, which is a reply to an attack by dualists, written by Madhusudan Saraswati, master. I myself once learned the Navya Nyaya, the school of neologic, which originated in Bengal. I learned that. I went, and we each had to stand up and say why you are learning it. So he said, you are a monk. Why are you learning neologic? So I said, I'm learning it to read Madhusudan Saraswati's Advaita Siddhi. So Advaita Siddhi, toughest book on non-dualism, Madhusudan Saraswati. But the same Madhusudan Saraswati has written a beautiful commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. And in one of the verses he says, I forget the original Sanskrit, what it means is this. If the yogi in meditation wants to remain immersed in the light shining in his heart, the unmanifest light of consciousness shining in his heart, wants to remain immersed in that, let him do so. But what delights mine eyes is the little blue boy playing on the bank of Yamuna. Krishna, the baby Krishna playing on the banks of Yamuna. Who is saying this? Madhusudan Saraswati. Non-dualist. So bhakti is very much possible. But the philosophy of bhakti in Shankara's Advaita and the philosophy of bhakti in Ramanuja's Vishishtadvaita, different. And in Ramanuja's Vishishtadvaita, bhakti is the supreme. In fact, the bhakti reaches its peak in what is called prapatti. Prapatti is complete surrender. Yeah. So there's a lot of discussion about that. So if you are interested in practice of bhakti, there are many things to be learned from Ramanuja's. I'll take this occasion to share one thing in the Gita itself. In this second chapter, one more insight. Beautiful insight which Ramanuja gives, which you won't find here. In the non-dualist interpretation. Ramanuja says, it will come in the Gita a little later, control of the senses is necessary for enlightenment. It says. Krishna himself will again and again emphasize, strict self-control is necessary for enlightenment. And then he says, it's only after enlightenment that perfect sense control is possible. Ramanuja catches that. In his commentary, he says, isn't it a vicious cycle? You want control over the senses and a controlled body, controlled mind, so that you get enlightenment. But that will not happen until you are enlightened. And since one depends on the other, enlightenment is impossible, he says. Dushprapya, it is impossible to get. Then, what do you do? Then Ramanuja says, that is why bhakti is introduced. Moment you direct love towards God, the senses are automatically controlled. It's much easier to control, even when you're not enlightened. If music is spiritual music, you want to smell nice things, flowers and incense for God. You want to eat nice things, offer, prasad. Everything is connected to God. Our actions are connected to God. Our senses are connected to God. Our activities and thoughts are connected to God. And God, in fact, the very word Krishna means the attractor, the one who attracts our senses. Once you try a little bit, you will find a tremendous attraction in attraction of devotion, of love to God. And then the senses become much easier to control because they are now flowing Godward. Those senses, they have no problem there. A spiritual life becomes much easier. Okay, last question. I will not answer it, maybe, but let's hear the question. You raised your hand? Yes.
I was just remembering the song Bhajan
Yes, yes, yes.
In which he implores this guy to leave everything aside and just worship Lord Krishna.
Hmm.
Where he also sort of hints at, the reality that you see around you, what you perceive is sort of transient and therefore flimsy.
Hmm.
But the takeaway he gives him, or the escape, is really just to worship Krishna in every sentence. In fact, knowing that song, it doesn't even seem, after hearing that song, that Shankaracharya was a non-dualist.
Right.
Staunch bhakt.
Yes. Well, that's why I said he's asking about the song Bhaja Govindam, which is very popular. Bhaja Govindam literally means, if you translate into English, worship Govinda or Krishna. That's why I said some of the most beautiful beautiful devotional hymns have been composed by Shankaracharya. But now you know that to judge a philosopher, a saint philosopher like Shankaracharya, you must take the entire body of his work. You can't take little from here. Many people take only the hymns. Then he'll turn out to be a complete bhakta, a devotee. But surprisingly, he's a devotee of Shiva, of the Divine Mother, of Krishna, of Ganga. He's intensely devotional. But then if you take the bhashyas, the commentaries on the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita and the Brahma Sutras, then it falls into place. Basically, devotion is helpful. What he will basically say there is, if you ask, then why haven't you talked about knowledge in that hymn? Worship Krishna, by the grace of Krishna, you will get knowledge and get freedom. I'm not putting it this way. If you see the commentaries again and again, when the Gita it will come. Whenever devotion is prescribed, Shankaracharya will chime in. Yes, this is great because it leads to knowledge. And so then after knowledge you get enlightenment. So like that. That's a very beautiful hymn. Very popular. Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate. Oh fool, worship, take the name of God. He saw this person memorizing Sanskrit grammar. Sutras. Grammar is in the form of sutras. There are 4,000 plus sutras of Panini. Now one sutra, this person was sitting by the bank of the river and memorizing. You have to memorize a lot. So he's memorizing. The sutra goes like this. Dukrin karane, dukrin karane, dukrin karane. You sit and memorize. And Shankaracharya felt sad for this person that a few days later he'll die. And all he has done in his lifetime is grammar. And then he sings, Dinamapi rajani sayam prata shishira vasanto punara ayata kala kridati gacchati ayu tadapi namunchati ashavayu bhaja govindam govindam bhaja mudavate prapte sannihite kale nahi rakshati dukrin karane. He sings that he's seeing that person memorize Sanskrit grammar rules, sutras. Nowadays you would call them algorithms. They're like that. And he says, evening has come. Again it will become morning. Day turns into evening. Spring, autumn into winter, winter into spring, and so on. The seasons come and go. Time is dancing. Kala kridati. Time plays on. Gacchati ayu. Your life is running out. Never to come back again. Your days are running out. Then he says, but the flame of this desire, asha here means desire, not hope in the positive sense, that just this little more and then everything will be good. I'll make one more killing on the stock exchange and then I'll be set for life. This gadget, iPhone 8, that's it. And then I'll be really happy. And that thing, and that's it, I'll be really happy. This relationship, that vacation, I'll be really happy. And so on. No. None of it is the end. Nothing in this way, nothing can be, nothing will come to a conclusion. It will just go on and on and on. Never will you get fulfillment. Then he says, worship the Lord, worship the Lord, worship the Lord, you fool. When the time comes, prapte sannihite kale. When that time comes means the time of death. When the time of death draws near, nahi rakshati dukrin karane. Your Sanskrit grammar will not help you. Only the Lord can help you. And it's a beautiful hymn. It goes on and on and on. Very touching. Very touching. So he evokes devotion for God. All right. But here, the materialist view is put forward. That's one point of view. Another point of view, it's not the materialist view. It could be the Buddhist view. The Buddhist view is the Atman, the self, is not a permanent entity like the Hindus say it is. It is born and destroyed every moment. There is a self, but it is a continuous stream. William James, he coined the term stream of consciousness. The Buddhist view is something like that. We are a continuous stream, born and dying every moment to moment to moment to moment. Could be that view also. I think it's basically what Vedic Hindus believed at that time. Not a materialist view, not the Buddhist view, but the view that we are subtle bodies. We are born with the birth of this body dies, where we go on propelled by our past karma to other worlds and other lives, and we are born and we die, and we are born and we die. That view he's talking about. And why do I think that? We'll see the next few verses, they support this conclusion. Now the question here is that even if you think you are born with the birth of the body and you die with the death of the body, and you don't agree to the Vedantic view or the Advaitic view of the Atman, even then you should not grieve. Why not? A powerful verse, 27. This verse is not philosophy, it's common sense. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu, dhruvam janma mritasya cha, dhruvam janma mritasya cha, tasmad apariharyarthe, tasmad apariharyarthe, natvam shochitum arhasi, natvam shochitum arhasi. Very poetic. To one who is born, death is certain. Crisp Sanskrit phrase, Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu. Death is certain to one who is born. Dhruvam janma mritasya cha. And this is more problematic. Birth again is certain for the one who's died. He'll go on to other lives, he or she. Therefore, what's the upshot of all of this? Apariharyarthe. The inevitable, the unchangeable, where we have no choice at all. What's the point of bewailing the inevitable? It says that which is a fundamental fact, which cannot be changed at all. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu. For those who are born, death is certain. Swami Vivekananda puts it very powerfully. Saints die and sinners die. Paupers die and emperors die. The learned die and equally do the ignorant die. All will die. This is certain. It has nothing to do with belief, non-belief, spirituality, science, medicine, nothing. One will ultimately die. Even Avatara, whether it's Buddha or Jesus or Krishna or Rama or Ramakrishna, that physical body has gone. One Swami was joking, said we use better words when it comes to spiritual personalities. He has ascended to his divine, heavenly abode or divine abode. Okay, he may have ascended, but basically it means that the body died. The person is dead. In India, we say for monks, when the monks pass away, we didn't say he died. He attained samadhi, mahasamadhi. But basically the meaning is that the body is dead, the body is gone. The person is dead. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu. A simple fact, worth meditating upon. Swami Vivekananda taught this to a disciple. And the acceptance of death, contemplation of death. The disciple said it will lead to terror and depression. And Swami Vivekananda thoughtfully said in the beginning it might, but afterwards will come a great freedom and strength. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityu. There is no choice here. And you need not be afraid. Sri Krishna says, if you accept the Advaitic point of view, you need not be afraid at all. It is nothing to you really. Just like changing a suit of clothes. He said that, like changing old clothes. If you do not accept the Advaitic point of view, even then it's nothing to you because it's inevitable. And he says, you are not destroyed. The next part is, Dhruvam Janma Mritasya Cha. Birth is certain for those who have died. Now, this phrase, inclusion of this phrase shows that it's not the materialistic point of view. If it was the materialistic point of view, you're dead, finished. No religion is possible, nothing more matters after that. But the moment Krishna says, Dhruvam Janma Mritasya cha, after death, again birth is certain, propelled by our past karma. So with this phrase, he has introduced the entire karma and rebirth idea, which is so common in India. I say India, not Vedanta, not Hinduism. One Vedanta, the great Vedanta teacher said, these two things, karma and rebirth, the doctrine of karma and the doctrine of rebirth. In Hindi, karma or punarjanma, karmavad punarjanma. Doctrine of rebirth. These two are truly profound doctrines, teachings. Why? He says we disagree on almost everything else. Whether God exists or not, Buddhists don't talk about God. Jains don't talk about God. There are schools of Hinduism which do not talk about God. Whether God is with form or without form, whether God exists or not, then what is the way to enlightenment? Is it bhakti, devotion? Is it knowledge, jnana? Is it meditation? Is it austerity? What is it? Many, many views. Not only that, do you exist? On that also there is dispute. The Buddhist says there is no permanent self. It's a stream of changes, flux. Kshanikam, kshanikam, sarvam kshanikam. Momentary, momentary, all is momentary. Shunyam, shunyam, sarvam shunyam. Empty, empty, all is empty. And the Hindu says there is an eternal self. All these differences are admitted. Wide variety of viewpoints in Indian philosophy. Yet, this Vedanta teacher was saying, yet, these two, karma and rebirth, are common across the board. Jains, Buddhists, Sikhs, Hindus, and all the varieties of Hindus, Vaishnavas, Shaivas, Shaktas, non-dualists, dualists, qualified monists, identity in difference, Achintya Bheda Ved, so many schools, tantrics, everybody except the materialist accepts that there is karma and there is rebirth. As a non-dualist, he says, take it seriously. ये गंभीर बात है. Yes.
Rebirth, is it true for Jivan Mukta people?
No. It's only for the rest of us. So, for what Krishna, remember, up to now Krishna was teaching the highest Advaita. Pure consciousness, Atman, it's not born. There's no question of rebirth. Let me tell you this funny story. I've told you earlier. One of our monks, he was in the Himalayas in a little cottage. He was studying the Hindu or Indian idea of rebirth, many lives, punarjanma, and the Abrahamic idea that there's only one life. Jews, Christians, Muslims, they say there's only one life. You didn't exist earlier, you're created by the Creator, and then this life is there. After that, you wait in stasis or something for a long time until you get your heavenly life or the hellish fire, whatever. Now, there's only one life. You don't get many bodies, many lives. So which is true? Both can't be true. Though actually both are true. You know how? The way I understand it is, if you take the broader, if you take the holistic worldview, there are many births and deaths. If you take one birth and death, that's one life. If you don't know what came before that, if you don't know what comes after that, you will just say there was only one life. And this is a conscious choice. A conscious choice. If you actually go to the Bible and the Old Testament, there are any number of references to past lives. I was such, now I am this. So there are many such references. There was a committee during the Roman Empire, and they studied this matter. Many lives or one life, and the resolution was that let's rule out many lives and we will decide. The committee decided there's going to be one life from now on, because it was not advantageous to a particular Roman emperor. I think something like that. Some kind of choice was made. So in the ancient history of all religions, many lives are admitted. Anyhow, the point is one life or many lives. So this monk, he was studying both sides, and this way and that way. And all the other monks in that cottage, they were annoyed with him. They got bored of listening to these arguments. So he took his argument outside. In another ashram nearby, there was a great non-dualist master, a monk, who was an extreme Gaudapada type of non-dualist, Ajatavada, what we are studying in Mandukya Karika. So he goes there. He says, Swami, these are the arguments in favor of many lives, punarjanma, reincarnation. These are the arguments in favor of one life, that there's only eka janma vada, one life. Then that Swami said, that teacher, he said, oh Swami, why are you talking about all of this? When there is no birth, where is the question of rebirth? Read Mandukya. Because according to Mandukya, you are not even born once, let alone many lives. Atman is not even born once. The whole thing is Maya, is an appearance. In Hindi he said, Are Mahatma ji, jab janma hi nahi to punarjanma kahe ka? Aap Mandukya padhiye. And that Swami came back and told me, our Swami, he was furious. You can't argue with these non-dualists. I've got a serious question to ask, and he will simply go to Maya and Brahman. And the whole question is dismissed. Yes. But then you said, didn't you say everybody accepts karma and rebirth? So non-dualists also accept, you said? Yes. But remember non-dualism, vyavaharika paramarthika. Transactional level, empirical level, relative level, this world, everything is accepted. Paramarthik in the absolute sense, only Brahman. There was a time when Shankara was teaching and the other schools of Hinduism, he said, this Brahman alone is real, world is an appearance, I am Brahman. These fellows are atheists. Some said these fellows are Buddhists. The dualist Hindus attacked the non-dualists, saying that Prachanna Bauddha, these people are crypto-Buddhists. Even now, Shankara is called a crypto-Buddhist by some. Because they seem to deny conventional religion. They ask, the dualists, do you believe the Ganges is a holy river? Do you go to temples and bow down before God? Do you perform the ceremonies for departed ancestors, Shraddha? Because you are saying the world is false. You are saying the world is false. So are you denying religion? You guys are atheists. So we had to explain, that is Shankara and his disciples had to explain that, listen, we accept everything. There are two levels of reality. One is the ultimate reality, which is Brahman, where the question of, there it's not that you do not accept religion and you are an atheist, neither theist nor atheist, nothing matters there. Here in this world, we are as much of theists as you are. We are very happy to go on pilgrimages and take a dip in the holy Ganges, and any religious activity is very good because we regard it as very good preparation for the ultimate knowledge. At a transactional level, we call it vyavaharika, relative level. Aren't you studying Vedanta? Where are you studying Vedanta? Is Brahman studying Vedanta, or you're coming to class and attending classes? If that is real, then why can't you go to a temple and bow down, or a church and sing hymns? Why can't you do social service and give alms to the poor person? Everything is accepted at this level. But ultimately, from Brahman point of view, everything is an appearance. And you are that ultimate reality. So this was Shankara's point of view. Yeah. Okay, quickly.
Yeah. Can we say knowledge starts with Vishishadvaita and then it will culminate into Advaita?
Some people look at it that way. Does knowledge start with Vishishtadvaita? Why only Vishishtadvaita? Dvaita, let us say. We go from a dualistic point of view to a qualified monistic to a non-dualistic point of view. I have no objection, and Swami Vivekananda himself has spoken that way, a ladder theory. But the problem is, will the dualist and the qualified monist accept it, that you are the middle rung in the ladder or the lowest rung in the ladder? I don't think so. For a non-dualist, no problem. Non-dualist, as long as non-dualism is the highest rung, we are fine with it. We are fine with it. And the non-dualist does this. But it's a little demeaning for the dualist. Can the dualist do this? Usually they cannot, because the non-dualist can give a relative reality to dualism. But the dualist cannot speak in terms of relative reality and absolute reality. For the dualist, there is only one reality. This is it. This is it. Then where is God? Somewhere. There is also a place called heaven. There is God in heaven. And all of this is this one reality. But what the Advaitin does is, this is an appearance, and right here is the absolute reality Brahman which we are trying to show you. So the non-dualist can make space for dualism. Dualism cannot easily make space for non-dualism. That's why you'll find the dualist schools usually they're furious with non-dualists. And there are dualist schools who say that, they will say about other religions in Hinduism, they're a little narrow kind of dualists who say about other religions, even they can be rescued. But these non-dualists are the worst. They can never be rescued. They're finished. Yeah. Let me go ahead. So, the whole idea of karma and reincarnation is introduced here in this little phrase. Dhruvam janma mritasya cha. The certain is birth for those who die. When we die, propelled by our past karma, what dies? Physical body. We have discussed this earlier. 3 bodies. Physical body, subtle body, causal body. Beyond that, the Atman. Now, when death comes for the physical body. The subtle body and the causal body, they say it sort of curls up into a seed-like form and it goes away. And it is reborn again when it gets another suitable physical body. How does it get a physical body? Based on its past karma. We all have enormous stores of past karma. A part of that gives us a particular physical body. That part of my karma which has given me this physical body is called prarabdha karma. Literally, if you translate, well begun. It has started to give results. And so whatever I experience in this life, all the major events of my life are because of that past karma. I have a degree of freedom. But my parents, my health, my lifespan. So the lifespan of this physical body depends on that slice of my past karma which has generated this physical body. Once that is exhausted, this body will die. And another slice of my karma will become active and generate a new body for me. Next life. What will happen? The subtle body and the causal body will inhabit that and then slowly develop into maturity as that physical body. It blooms into maturity, then it will start working again. Not very different from when you take, earlier when a computer would crash, we used to have the programs in floppy disk. So we would take the floppy disk and put it into the new computer and it would start working again. Now in the disk itself, floppy disk itself, it's not usable. It's not usable. It's there. Everything is there, but not usable. But once you put it, you need a new computer. When you put it in there, then you can see everything again. Similarly, our subtle body, tendencies, our karma, our vasanas, desires, all are there, but not functioning. They can't function without a physical body. When you are put into a new physical body, as the body develops, that subtle body also develops along with it. And then you get a new life. This is what he means, dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Certain is birth for the dead. But for whom? Only for the unenlightened. That we have many lives is not good news for the Hindu. It's bad news. It's a thing to be gotten out of. There was a joke, a cartoon, when this born-again Christian guy is saying to the Hindu, look, I'm a born-again Christian. And the Hindu is saying, oh, I'm a born-again and again and again and again Hindu. A very cute cartoon. Yeah, it is because why is it bad? Ultimately, it's not bad in itself. It keeps on giving us a stream of experiences. Ultimately, it is bad because it is under limitation, we do not know who we truly are, and it is subject to endless suffering. Endless suffering. Yes.
So I have a little bit different thought on the last point you mentioned.
Yeah.
One thing that is, empowering to me with respect to Advaita Vedanta is nobody is left behind.
Yes.
Take 1,000 lives or 100 lives or whatever. At the end of the day, you are going to realize, the ultimate truth.
Absolutely. Not only that, not only at the end of the day, you are that absolute truth right now. That is most empowering. Even if I do not realize it, I am perfectly safe right now. You are perfectly safe right now. Everything is all right from that point of view.
So the point I was trying to make is is not so significant because I am Brahman, but I will realize that I am Brahman ultimately.
Yes, but remember one thing. Krishna is switching his standpoint here. He notices that you say you are finding Advaita empowering. Arjuna was not finding it empowering. Krishna notices that. So he's switching to a more common sense approach. Something that Arjuna, being a Hindu of those times, would be more accustomed to thinking. You think that you are born with this body. You existed in other bodies earlier and you will exist later on. That's what you think. He says, yes, that's what we have been taught. Even then you should not grieve about death of this body. That's what Krishna is trying to say. Already, he has said, even if, but if, he has used those words. And that means all that I have taught till now, Advaita, if it's not sinking in, if it seems fantastic, impossible, in that case, let me give you some common sense advice. That also, it will work. That you should not feel disturbed by death. Yes.
Swamiji, the goal of evolution is enlightenment, you would say.
All right, go on. One can say more about that, yeah.
What I want to say is,
Yeah.
would we consider Advaita or religion as a fast track to the goal of evolution?
Correct. Ultimately, many great philosophers have said that the purpose of all of this is enlightenment, freedom, perfection. As different as Shankara and Hegel and others, they've said, ultimately it's moving towards, call it a spiritual realization, call it a perfection, call it an enlightenment. So that's what we are doing, reading the pages of life in a book. Each page is one life. Turn over a page, one life gone another. And the soul means the subtle body, is evolving, learning, growing. That's one way of looking at it. And what would be the purpose of all of this? Attainment of our real nature, which is infinity, from the limited to the infinite. That's where we are going. The beautiful prayer, from the unreal to the real, from darkness unto light, from death. What is death? Not one death. Many deaths. In one way, it's more terrifying. Many deaths. To immortality, beyond death. This thing about being reborn, Krishna puts it nicely. For the dead, rebirth is certain. Upanishads give a very shocking language. Mrityu sa mrityum apnoti yahiya naneva pashyati. Who sees plurality here, difference here, dualism here. That one, what is the result? That one goes from death to death. Could have been nicer, could have said goes from birth to birth. No, that one goes from death to death, to shock, the shock value. Yes. Okay, the lady first and then...
How exactly is the very complex information associated with the subtle body transferred from one life to the other? Because there is nothing obvious in this material world
That is true. You're saying that how is the information transferred? There's nothing obvious going from one body to another in the material world. That's true. If we could find that, then religion would have a scientific basis. That's why I said, what Krishna is saying here is not the materialist point of view. Is the conventional religious point of view of ancient Hindus. Bodies die, but you go on. What goes on, if you ask, what is the basis for transfer of all this information? Sukshma Sharira. If you ask, what is Sukshma Sharira? They will say it is made of Sukshma Tanmatra. According to the ancient cosmology, these physical bodies are made of 5 elements. This is a kind of thinking which many ancient civilizations had. Space, air, fire, water, earth. So this is a combination of these elements has made this body. But what ancient Indian cosmology goes a step further or deeper. It says our subtle bodies are also made of these elements. These elements have a gross aspect, physical aspect, which is this. So this is earth. In that there will be liquid, that is water. In there it is heat, it's hot. So that is fire, and so on. But there are subtle aspects of this. The 5 elements come in Sukshma and Sthula. So the subtle aspects are called Sukshma Tanmatra. Yogis are supposed to be able to see that. The subtle, and we also see it in a certain way. How? Think a thought. Feel an emotion. Experience a desire, love, hate. All those things which you are experiencing right now, those are the subtle elements. What is happening in the physical body? Neurons are firing in the brain, which is gross element, according to Vedantic terms or Sankhya terms. But what you are experiencing, that is the proof of the existence of subtle elements. I will immediately talk about the hard problem of consciousness here. But yes, for the first time, modern science, we have narrowed down the problem. Until you can explain a simple thing like, think of a rose, think of that beautiful flower right now, experience the redness, the shape of the flower. Explain it in terms of neuronal activity of the brain, the experience you are having. You cannot. It's come to a dead end, literally. And I'm seeing now, time and time again, symposiums, conferences, consciousness. What is consciousness? Again, there's we have an informal sort of philosophy cafe which I wander into sometimes and we discuss it. The next topic is again, is consciousness fundamental? It's happening across the top philosophies, neuroscience departments. Neuroscience departments are trying to reduce consciousness to the brain. Then your question will be valid. There is nothing which is transmitted after death. How will the subtle body go? Where is the subtle body? Then there is no subtle body. The Charvaka will be right. But they are unable to reduce the consciousness or mind to the physical brain. Then what is consciousness or mind? You can't deny it exists because you are experiencing it. I am experiencing it. Everybody is experiencing it. In fact, that's all that we experience. The very word experience means consciousness is there and some kind of subtle body is there. Otherwise, no experience is possible. So, there's a subtle body, to answer your question, Sukshma Sharira, which goes from physical body to dead physical body to a new living physical body, a baby maybe, and then is reborn in that body. It's a proof that it exists. I can give you first-person proof that you are experiencing it yourself. But show me that something leaves this physical body and goes. It must be a kind of matter which we have not discovered. I don't know. That is the question mark. If you ever discover that, it will have a tremendous impact. It will prove that religion is real. That something goes on after death will prove that religion is real. All right. You had a question at the end? Yeah. Let's hear them, because we have run out of time.
The first is, I was wondering if there is this critique of Vedanta that comes to my mind. I was wondering whether other people have raised it and how Vedanta answers it. Is that samsara, or the endless cycle of life and death, is a problem because it's an endless cycle. But fortunately, we don't remember it, so it's not a problem in that respect. So is Vedanta just giving a solution to a problem, but by first telling us there is this problem, and then providing a solution for it, because if they didn't tell us, we didn't know.
Yeah.
Second is more of a question, is we say that Vedanta as well as yoga, they say that when a person attains enlightenment, there is no rebirth. So are they saying that there is no rebirth because he has seen himself as this larger entity?
Yes.
Or are they, but at the same time, in the Vyavaharika level, even after enlightenment, the rebirth of the body will continue?
No, rebirth not of the body. After enlightenment, the body, at no point is the body reborn. Right? The subtle body is reborn in a new physical body. What happens at death? Yeah. So, to answer that question, it's Upanishads say that at the point of enlightenment, the enlightened person continues as long as the karma for that particular body lasts. That is called Jivan Mukti. When the karma for that body is exhausted, that body falls apart, just like for every one of us. But there's a difference. The difference is, for the subtle body also dissolves away for that person. For us, the subtle body continues. Why would that happen? Remember, what is the purpose of the whole thing? Purpose is enlightenment. So in one sense, the purpose of nature is served. And this idea actually has come from a more ancient teaching of Sankhya, Prakriti Purusha. Prakriti means nature. Nature does everything for the experience and enlightenment, experience and release, bhoga apavarga of the Purusha. That idea is incorporated into Advaita. The subtle body dissolves after enlightenment. Upanishads are there for who say this. Going back to your first question is Vedanta a solution in search of a problem? That many lives, we'll be free from the cycle of birth and death. But I don't even know about the cycle of birth and death. I'll be free from a problem which I don't know about. Actually, if you investigate the human condition, you will come across this birth and death problem. It is something pervasive in Indian thought. But that's not the only way that Vedanta can be framed. Suppose people ask, suppose in a society which does not believe in past lives and future lives, just this life, does Vedanta have any use? Tremendous use. Vedanta says you can make it neutral from that perspective. You can directly say, what is the purpose of Vedanta? Atyantika dukkha nivritti paramananda praptischa. Complete cessation of sorrow here and now, this life's sorrow. An attainment of deep, lasting peace and bliss, this life. Forget past life, forget future life. You need not talk about it. That was because of the cultural context of India in those days. That was the solution to this whole cycle of birth and death. And as that master said, take it seriously. Because you start thinking about life in itself. If you take time to be real, action to be real, cause and effect to be real, once you take that, and we do take these things to be real, immediately the consequence, implication will be, we were and we will be. If we were and if we will be, then in that case, karma and birth and death are there. So it's a very deep kind of conclusion. Yes, not directly obvious. If it was directly obvious, even materialists would accept it. And if the hard problem of consciousness is solved in that way, that they find something which survives and encodes personal information after death, then you have it. If not, you need not talk in those terms. Talk just in terms of this life. Answer to suffering. All right. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu.